Hey everybody, this is Marcus. Let's talk about X-Men 97 Episode 3. This episode is so amazing and I cannot wait to see the next 7 episodes that are going to drop on Disney Plus every Wednesday. There are 10 episodes in total and there's already a works for Season 2 and Season 3 is actually in production as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of the seasons whenever they come out as well. But I will say this, Rotten Tomatoes already ranked X-Men 97 at a high ranking. It's already a success too. There's 97% in both the tomato meter and the audience score as well. So it has a high ranking. So this series is phenomenal. And again, as I mentioned this previously, it takes me back to my childhood of watching X-Men the animated series growing up as a little kid, and it's also one of the reasons why I'm a huge Marvel fan growing up as well, watching X-Men the animated series along with other Marvel content that's out there, and it's so amazing for sure though. But episode 3, let's get right into it. So it picks up previously where episode 2 leaves off. We see a woman that looks exactly like Jean Grey, and then it turns out, according to Beats and his research, that it was actually a clone of Jean Grey that was created by Mr. Sinister. And this episode, oh my gosh, it was like, and you know, I'm not technically a huge horror fan, but there's definitely some horror references in this episode as well, though, because of course, this episode is actually based off the Inferno Saga. So the Inferno Saga in the comics was actually about Mr. Sinister, and he was actually unleashing Madeline Pryor, who was known as the Goblin Queen, and her demons as well. There was 2 demons that were working beside her. There was Nashter and Sim. And then Mr. Sinister was wreaking havoc in New York City as well. And of course, the title of Infernos actually crossed over to several comic book titles, such as Uncanny X-Men, X-Factor, X-Terminators, Power Pack, even the Amazing Spider-Man titles as well. And the reason why I crossed over to that was because the next Hobgoblin, who was known as Jason Philip Macendale, actually was possessed by one of the demons, and he becomes Demogoblin. So that was the reason why. So Inferno is actually another one of the important titles that takes place in the Marvel Universe that came out in the late 1980s, and it crossed over to many titles as well though. And so this actually was the epitome of the confrontation between Jean Grey and Madeline Pryor. And I love how they actually incorporated all those elements into one episode, because everything took place within that first episode as well though. And so they told the entire Inferno Saga in one episode, which pretty much was different from the comics, where it took like a bunch of like different titles that you have to pick up to get. But it's actually a great read too though. And so me being a fan of the original Marvel Comics lore, you have a pretty understanding of where all these references come from, because ever since the inception, the X-Men animated series have always taken elements from past Marvel titles that came out in the 80s, even towards the 90s as well, especially touching base on the Dark Phoenix saga and even a little bit of the Legacy Virus saga as well though. So, but this episode was actually really great because we actually do see the different fears that the X-Men have to deal with. For example, with Morph, with Madeline Pryor opening up the X-Men's worst fear. Morph, for example, his fear was confronting Mr. Sinister again. And of course, he still has his courage, but he still has a fear or PTSD of dealing with Mr. Sinister, considering that in the first season of X-Men the Animated Series, he was supposedly killed by one of the Sentinels, but he was critically injured, but Mr. Sinister saved his life during the Night of the Sentinels episode of 2-parter. But then of course we didn't see Morph until the second season, until Death Do Us Part, where he actually disguised himself as a minister and he married off Cyclops and Jean Grey, and then come to find out they realized that Morph survived and he was the one that was brainwashed by Mr. Sinister. And then it wasn't until the end of the second season where he fought Mr. Sinister's control. And then by the episode of Courage in season 4, he came back to the X-Men, fought his fears, went against some Sentinels, and then he went back to Muir Island for treatment. But then, of course, eventually, by the final episode of Season 5, Morph comes back and becomes a full-fledged member of the team. Right before Professor Xavier went back to, well, before he was critically wounded himself, and then he thanked Morph for conquering his fears. And then Lilandra carried him to the Shi'ar Empire, which I believe that Xavier is going to come back eventually anyway. So this all depends upon when it's going to happen, though. But like I said, Mr. Sinister shows up at the X-Mansion. He confronts the X-Men. Rogue and Gambit and Magneto were still going towards their love triangle of sorts. Gambit didn't want Rogue to be by herself with Magneto because he still cares about her and loves her. And again, it kind of goes back to the comics where Gambit and Rogue actually do get married, especially in X-Men Gold in 2018. So obviously they're going to work it out to where I believe they're going to get back together. And of course they're tying up to where Magneto and Rogue had a relationship previous like they did in the comics as well. And then of course they had a son in Age of Apocalypse, and in the comics they were supposed to have been like, you know, the saviors of mutant kind anyway though. So but hopefully they'll play it to the part to where they'll get back together, Magneto, well, not just Magneto and Rogue, but Rogue and Gambit, because Gambit's being done very dirty by Magneto though. So, and everybody's been talking about that too though. But just to conclude everything, Jean Grey awakens from her injuries and she confronts Madeline Pryor and actually saved her from the clutches of Mr. Sinister. The battle was over, and then of course Nathan's already been born, of course, from the previous episode. But Mr. Sinister actually affected Nathan with the techno-organic virus, which is actually what happened in the comics as well. And so when the baby was affected by the virus, they had to send Nathan to the future to save his life. Now, the comics is different because it was actually Ashanti who was one of the psychics that actually took Nathan, took him to the future, and then of course he would grow up to become Cable. Only in the animated series, it was Bishop who took baby Cable, to the future. And then of course Cable was supposed to come back in this season as well, being voiced by Chris Potter himself, who previously voiced Gambit in the original X-Men series as well though. So I like how they actually implement the elements from the comics, but add a little bit of the changes in that too. So that way, like, comic book fans like myself can pretty much know where they're actually getting the reference from though. So I like the touch they actually added that too though. So I thought it was actually pretty cool. But anyway, once Jean and Malin said their goodbyes, Jean actually confronted Scott, and then obviously they're going to try and get to know each other again. So, and then this episode actually sets up the next episode, which is the Life-Death Saga, where Forge is going to help Storm get her powers back, but they also become entangled and have a relationship with each other too. So they actually met at a bar in the final scenes of X-Men 97 for episode 3, and then setting up the next episode that's coming up. So it's going to be awesome, but it's going to be a two-parter though. So the two-parter of Life Death is going to be amazing. I'm looking forward to the next 7 episodes as well though. But I love this series, you guys. This series is just so amazing. And the fact that, again, it takes me back to reading the comics, and also takes me back to talking about, like, just how I feel about the series growing up, especially the nostalgia that's there as well, and me being a nerd myself and knowing all the Marvel lore. It's just so amazing. So, but yeah, like I said, this series is just definitely an A+ for me, and I'm definitely enjoying it so far. So I'm looking forward to seeing what this season's going to hold, and especially for the next 2 seasons that are going to be coming out as well though. So I've been hearing also that Spider-Man might make an appearance. That'll be pretty awesome too. So, and I know people have been talking about Spider-Man the animated series and bringing that back. That'll be pretty awesome too. And I'll discuss this in my next video too, especially coming out with the brainstorm of what they can do for Spider-Man the animated series. So I'll talk about that separately in my next video. But I definitely want to talk about what they're going to do for this season as well, though. So, but again, it's gonna be awesome. So I love this series so much, you guys, and the voice acting is crisp. The animation has been great too. I'm definitely enjoying it. The animation was definitely extra. It was definitely extra for this episode as well, because again, Madeline Pryor's persona, the Goblin Queen, it definitely fits that mold for what they were trying to do by bringing up the classic Inferno Saga from the comics. So it was definitely great, and I definitely loved the episode. And again, I'll watch it over again, especially with the previous episodes as well, though. So, but you know, right before this series actually started, I did binge watch the animated series, and like I said, it was like my childhood coming full circle all over again, though. So, but yeah, but I love this series so much, you guys. Especially all the other Marvel content that came out in the 90s. There were even talks about bringing them back as well, like Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, of course, Iron Man, the Incredible Hulk, of course. Those were actually the Marvel lineup in the 90s as well, though. So, but like I said, it's awesome. I'm definitely loving it. I'm enjoying it so far, and of course, it's a great series, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the next 7 episodes are going to be about as well, though. So I'm looking forward to them all, and me being a fan of the comic book lore, it's amazing, and I love it so much, you guys. So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to you guys. But what do you guys think? Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Have you guys seen episode 3 or have watched X-Men 97 entirely? Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Let me know your thoughts, what you guys think, or what your opinions are as far as like your thoughts on the episodes and what you're expecting for the future seasons as well of X-Men 97, or what other Marvel content you guys want to see. But just let me know in the comments down below. And thank you guys so much for supporting my channel. It really means a lot to me. And for those who are new to my channel, make sure you like this video, share this video, subscribe to my channel, and make sure you hit that bell to enable notifications whenever I drop a video. And we're going to always keep this thing rolling, you guys. So, but thank you all so much for your support. It really means a lot to me. Excelsior. Be good to each other. Love each other. And I'll catch you guys in the next one.